Yes, hi everyone. Welcome to computer security for level 4 students, especially level 4 students who are doing computer engineering, right? So this is our first session. I think it's going to be lesson number 1 or chapter number 1, uh, Introduction to Computer Security. As you know that we are going to have 10 lessons or 10 videos, right? And for those videos, you need also to submit 10 assignments, right? So at the end of every video, you're going to have some questions that you need to submit. That shows that you went through the video and you understood all the concepts that I've been explaining. And after that, you did also submit your assignment, right? So before you write your final examination in computer security, you must make sure that you did all your assignments, right? So let's start. This course is very easy for everyone. There is no calculations, but you need only to follow some concepts and apply those concepts, right? So it's not mathematics where you're gonna have a headache or yeah. So let's me try to share my screen. Okay. Yeah, so I'm sure that you can see my screen. Chapter 1, Introduction to Computer Security, right? So what you need to understand first is what is computer security, right? What is CS? So when we're talking about computer security, what does it mean, right? What is, let me repeat, what is computer security? Okay. So when you're talking about computer security, you don't need to memorize so many concepts. It's very, very simple. So we are talking about the protection of items, right? Protection of items, right? So when you are listening, somebody talking about computer security, shortly, we're talking about protecting items, right? And those items, you can call them assets, right? So we call those items assets. So when we are talking about computer security, we are talking about the protection of items. And those items, we call them assets. So computer security is the protection of assets. And we do have 5 types of assets, right? 5 types of assets, right, that you need to protect. So computer security, we're talking about protecting 5 assets, right? And what are those assets that you need to protect, right? Number 1, when you are dealing with computer security, you need to protect what we call the hardware, right? So basically, when we're talking about computer security, you can say that it's the protection of hardware, right? And when we're talking about hardware, we're talking about your actual physical computers, your cameras, and so on, right? And the protection of hardware means that you need to protect them against physical access, right? So when you're talking about protecting the hardware, means you need to protect those hardware against physical access. So what does it mean? When you do have your computers, make sure that nobody can touch those computers. Nobody can approach those computers, the whole number 1. Not only computers, because when we're talking about hardware, we do have printers, we do have cameras, we do have network devices such as wireless. So whatever that you are using, make sure that nobody can access them physically, right? Because when somebody can touch your computer, no matter which kind of password you can have, somebody can bypass it, right? That just by having the USB, when I can touch your computer, I can bypass your password, right? So make sure that whatever that you are using, even at home, your personal laptop or phone, nobody can have the physical access to it. And how you gonna do it, right? And how to do it, right? It's a major question also. Right? You can have such as monitoring, you can monitor physical access by having like cameras, right? Suppose like you have computers, right? Make sure that you have like cameras that's gonna monitor those devices, right? Not only cameras, you can have like the gates, your gate must be protected, and you must also lock your devices, right? So number one, we say that you need to protect your hardware, like your printers, your wireless devices, modem, your cameras, right? You need to protect them against physical access, right? And how you are going to do it, you need like to lock them, right? You need to lock your devices and you need to have like cameras to monitor those devices. Now, we don't talk only about the protection physically. You need also to protect safe devices against remote access, right? So your devices that you have, you need to protect them against physical access, and you need also to protect them against remote access. So remote access means you can have your computer like here in Dublin and somebody else can be like in the US and that person can access your computer remotely. So you have to make sure that your computer or your devices is protected against remote access, right? So rule number one. Number two, you need to protect software, right? Rule number one, you protect your hardware against physical access and remote access. When you are done, you already lock your computers and so on. You need to make sure that software that are going to run on those computers are also protected, right? So what does it mean by the software? You need to protect like operating systems and your applications, right? So you make sure that people cannot access physically your hardware. You make sure that your software that are running on top of your hardware are protected, right? And what does it mean by that? You need maybe like, you have to make sure that your operating systems are updated, your applications are also updated, right? So when you are done with protecting the hardware, the software, you need now to protect data, right? You already protect your hardware against physical access. You protect your software also that are going to run on top of those hardware. You need now to protect data, right? Data that you are going to use on this particular computer. So when you do have your laptop, make sure that you protect your laptop against physical and remote access. When you are done with that part, right, you have to make sure that the operating system that you are using is also protected, right, by running most updated operating systems and apps. All your applications that are running on your device must be updated also, right? Now, when you are done with that, you need also to protect data data that are going to be used on that particular computer, right? And there are two types of data, right? Two types of data when we're talking about data. There are data that are going to be sitting on your computer, right? So that kind of data is static. So we call it data at rest, right? At rest. So number one, you need to protect data that will never move from your computer to another device. How you are going to do that? You need like to have like the credentials, maybe for accessing your hard drive. You need to encrypt your data, right? So what does it mean? It's like you've got your hard drive. For accessing your hard drive or your folders, you need the password, username and password, so that somebody can access your drives, right? But beside that, so somebody can have your username and password and access your drive, but your data gonna still be encrypted. So encrypted means you are changing the form of your data. Maybe you have a movie, but when somebody can access your folder, it won't gonna appear like a movie. So it's gonna appear like something else, right? So this is what it means. So when you do have your laptop, make sure that your folders are protected. And how you are going to do that, you need to have a password for accessing those folders, and make sure that even if somebody can know your password, your folders gonna still be encrypted. So encrypted means you change the form, right? And how you're gonna do that? There are so many software that are going to help you to have a password for your folders or hard drives and to encrypt your data, right? So this is for data that's going to be sitting without moving. And the second type, there is what we call data in motion. Data in motion is the type of data that will be moving from one computer to another computer or from one device to another devices. And that kind of data also, you need to protect it, because when your data will move from one device to another device, your data can be stale and somebody can change it, right? Suppose like you have one computer here and data will be moving from one computer to another computer. You need to encrypt that data, right? Because between those two devices, there can be someone in the middle who can have special software on his own laptop that will allow him to capture the signals, right? That way you need to encrypt this kind of data, right? And number four, you need also to protect people who are going to use your devices, right? Like your computers, your printers, and so on, right? So number one, you protect your hardware, you protect your software, you protect your data. You need also to protect people who are going to use your system or your laptop, right? How are you going to protect those people? You need to train people who are going to use your system, right? So people who are working with you, people who are working for your company, they must know how to use the system. They must know how to choose good passwords, right? So you have to train them. You have to give them a basic lesson about cybersecurity or computer security, right? And number five, when you're protecting also people, you need to protect the processes. What does it mean by processes? When you do have a company or maybe you have your own computer, you are going to have a strategy that you are going to put in place for protecting your devices, right? Now, that strategy, it's going to be like a document, right? A written document, like maybe you're gonna say, okay, for our company, this is like our cybersecurity strategy. So you must do this, you must then do this. So this is the process or processes. Make sure that nobody can take over, or maybe somebody can have that particular document, or being aware of that particular document, right? So those are the 5 types of assets that you need to protect wherever you are going to be or wherever you are using information technology devices, right? So shortly, when we are talking about computer security, you need to understand that it's the protection of items. And when we are talking about items, those items, we call them assets. So computer security is the protection of assets. I told you that we do have 5 assets, right? And those 5 assets, those are the ones that you need to protect. The first one is the hardware. We do have the hardware, right? Like cameras, printers, wireless devices, routers, switches. You need to protect first the hardware in your company. And when we are talking about that particular protection, we are talking about the protection against physical and remote access. Make sure that nobody can access your devices physically or remotely, right? And when you are done with that particular state, I told you like you need like to have locks. You need to lock your devices, especially for servers and switches, routers. You have to lock them so that nobody can have like access to them. You need also to disable ports that you're not using. Like your laptop will have like a USB port. The ports that you're not using, you can disable them. Like maybe you have a switch or a router or a wireless access point. The ports that you are not using, you need to disable them because when those ports still on, somebody can bypass all the security measures you put it in place. Now, when you are done with protecting the hardware, you have to move to the software because your devices will have software, right, or programs. Those programs need also to be protected, like your operating systems, like your applications, right? Because your laptop will have Windows. That Windows need to be protected. Or your laptop can have Linux. That Linux need to be protected. How you are going to do it? Basic stuff, you have to make sure that your operating systems and applications are updated because you're gonna have like your Windows and your Windows will have what like VLC, like all those other small programs. Make sure that they are also updated, right? And when you are done with protecting the software, you need to protect your data. I told you that when you're talking about the protection of data, you need to protect data that are going to be sitting on your computer and data that is going to be moving, right? And how you are going to do it, you need to encrypt your data. Encrypting means you are going to change the form of your data. Suppose like it's a movie, but it wants to look like a movie, right? And you need to have credentials to access your folders or your hard drives, like passwords. So when somebody will click on your folder, they will ask you a password. But I can know your password. By going inside your folder, I won't gonna see, so I will see another type of folders that is not the actual one because of the encryption. Now, when you are done with that, you move to people. You also train people on how to use information technology devices. And when you are done, you need also to protect the documentation that you are going to be followed or the procedures that you are going to follow in your particular company, right? So you need to follow all those steps and you need to make sure that you are protecting all those assets. You cannot even leave one of them or neglect one of them, right? You need to make sure that all those processes have been followed, right? Now, I'm gonna give you like an example. I'm gonna give you a design. From that particular design, you are going to tell me what are the devices, what are the hardware, software, data, people, and processes. Just list those 5 assets. So I'm gonna give to you like a particular design, and you are going to list what you can understand by hardware, software, data, people, processes, right? And when you are done, you can try to explain to me how you can protect those hardware that you found on that particular design and software, data, and so on, right? Let me do that particular design. So this is the assignment number 1, right? Let me just do it a bit fast. If it's going to be possible. Yeah. So you just need to go and okay. I'm just doing the design for you guys so that you can. Okay. So it's just a particular design for a particular company. You are going just to list your hardware. And after listing your hardware, you need also to list your software. And when you are done, you need to explain about data, how you are going to protect your data. And all those computers, all these PCs are running Windows OS. Windows OS and running Ubuntu server. It's running Ubuntu server. And the company using the apps or apps, there is Moodle for managing students, right? And let's say yeah, what else I should put there? Okay. So you need to just look at this particular design. You have to list all the hardware. You need to explain how you are going to protect those hardware. You need also to list your software and how you're going to protect them, your data, and how you're going to protect your data, and the people who are going to use the system. You need also to explain about the processes that you are going to be using to protect your devices, right? Thank you very much. I will be waiting for your assignments, especially you're going to have 2 days from now. Make sure that you're going to use my email address to submit your assignments, right? And let me give you my email address for those yeah, so this is my email address, or you can use my phone number. All right, okay, thank you very much. I will be waiting for your feedback. For any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, all right?